Hi and welcome to this new course about building web applications with .NET Core and Angular. So these are two very new guys out in the market, and .NET Core is Microsoft's new way of saying we are now cross-platform. So you can use us on Mac, on Linux and on Windows or whatever you want to do. I want to test that, I want to try it out, so I'm going to try and create videos for both Windows and Mac here. And then we're going to use Git to actually share the solutions between the two. So let's see if it works, if they really made this cross-compatible. We're going to use Angular as the front-end part, which is, the reason is that Angular right now is one of the big guys out there when we're talking web development. So we're going to use Angular to make web pages, and we're going to use the .NET Core framework to make a REST API to get some of the newest technology for making distributed systems up and running. We're going to make this everything. We're going to make it all. We're going to make a full stack, meaning that we can save data in a database, we can get data from a database and present it in a web application. And that's what we're going to do. How are we going to do it? Well, we're going to start out with a small crash course in C#. I don't know where you guys are coming from, but the team I'm going to teach here is going to be Java developers who have worked with Java for a year or so, and now they need to move over to C#. So we're going to start with a small crash course there. That's the first series, where we're going to learn how to set up the machine with Visual Studio. We're going to learn some basics. I expect you have a basic understanding of object-oriented programming, but still you can go even if you don't. We're going to have basics with classes, interfaces. We're going to learn a bit about loops and if statements, arrays, lists, how you use that in C#. We're going to learn about structures and enums. We're going to learn about file and exception handling and stuff like that. So we're just going to get an idea in the first series here about how you can actually use C# to develop software. And my goal is to end up with this having a very basic REST API that we can try and work with, something very basic. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take that REST API and we're going to make it more advanced. So that's going to be the second series where you're going to learn how to make a proper REST API, because the real goal is to make a two-tier architecture for our web application, make a distributed system, right? And we're going to make the front-end tier, which is going to be the user is going to be working with, is going to be in Angular. The backend tier is going to be .NET Core, and we're going to use an MSSQL database to store our data. You can use any database, but I'm going to focus on the MSSQL database. So again, the backend is going to be built with .NET Core, making web API, develop high-performance application in less time on any platform. That's what they're saying. Let's see if they can actually do that right now with the .NET Core framework. I'm going to also give you guys a small crash course. That's probably going to be the third series, where we're going to make just very basic HTML and CSS, just to get you guys into that, because that's kind of, no matter what framework you use to develop web applications, you need to have a basic understanding of this to get going with it. I might also throw a bit of JavaScript in there, because that's also very important to know at least the basics before you go develop your first application. Then we're going to move into Angular, which is right now on version 4 as I make these videos. They are trying to put out new frameworks, or sorry, new updates, major releases every half year right now. So it might be 5, 6, 7 or whatever we get to when I'm ready to actually start working with Angular. But that's what we're going to do. And we're going to use Typescript in Angular, which is a lot like a combination of JavaScript, C#, I think that's what I'm going to call it. So it's not that hard to get into. Let's get a look at that later. MSSQL database, we're going to do that inside the Web API course. We're going to work with MSSQL, and we're going to use a framework to work with that. So don't worry, it won't be pure SQL statements. You'll also learn how to actually use frameworks to work with your database and manipulate data in your database. The goal is to make a full-featured application. I'm not sure it's going to be the course planner that I've used other times. I think it's going to be something else. You'll be surprised, and we'll get to that later on. That's it, and then I probably forgot a lot of things that I want to show you guys as well, but let's see what happens in the end, and let's see what this course actually ends out supplying for you guys or delivering to you guys. But the goal is at least 4 different series, and let's see how far we get. Have fun. See you in the first part where we're going to learn how to install Visual Studio on Windows and on Macs.